Hello, salutations everybody, this is Thales speaking. You're watching my channel or listening to my channel about English language. We have content ranging from basic to advanced, and we talk about business, vocabulary, English grammar, everything you want to know about English, all right? I've been recording videos since the beginning of 2020, so check it out. We have more than 700 videos available. Before we begin the topic of today's topic, subscribe to the channel, share the content with your friends, with people who want to learn a little more about English. I learn English every single day. There is always something new to learn. It's impossible to take a grasp of everything English has to offer. So unless you study every day or on a regular basis, it's impossible to know everything English has to offer. And give a huge thumbs up if you enjoy the content from our videos, my videos, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to get the latest updates. All right. Today I have check about working from anywhere, working from home. It's an article from The Economist. I will leave the link at the description, and it's possible for you to read the article. Maybe it will be necessary to create an account, right? At their website to access the full article, all right? So it's free of charge. I think it's worth it. I don't know if they will they will demand that I subscribe to the website after some given articles. Some websites, they work that way. You read 3 articles and then the next extra article, or from 3 articles on, you have to be a subscriber. I don't know if that's the case, but I can access this article. I will leave it to you, and I'm not a subscriber, but I highly recommend if you want to access news from business English especially. Okay, so I haven't read the article yet. I will read together with you, okay? Why working from anywhere isn't realistic. The globe-trotting lifestyle will be open only to a lucky few. Okay, so here it says that working from anywhere won't be a reality. What about you? What about you in your workplace, in your company? Can you work from anywhere? Is it possible for you to work from anywhere? Is it a full 100% remote work, or do you have to go to the offices at least twice a week, 3 times a week? I don't know. It's a hybrid style, right? In the beginning of the pandemic, right, we are kind of in the end, right? It hasn't been over yet. Yesterday, for example, about 80 Brazilians were dead because of COVID. So we can't say it's over, but of course it's far from the huge numbers, the death toll that we had in the beginning of the pandemic, more than 1,000 people dead per day. It's much better. Most people have been vaccinated already. In the city, from the city I live, for example, Rio de Janeiro, we are no longer required to wear masks. So what about you? Have you been vaccinated yet? If not, you have to, right? You have to be vaccinated. Companies demand people to be vaccinated, by the way. And even for if you want to travel, it's required that you show proof of vaccination. In my last trip, 2 months ago, I had to give proof of vaccination, right, in order to fly a plane. So be warned if you're not vaccinated. But here we are not talking about necessarily about the pandemic, but it's one of the consequences of the pandemic of COVID-19 is that people started working from home full time, right? For a long time. For example, I've been working from home for more than 2 years. It's a long time, right? And now, little by little, people will be going back to the offices. But here it says that it isn't realistic to believe or to assume that people may be working from anywhere they want. And just a lucky few, right? So it will be kind of a privilege. For example, nowadays, if I want to work from anywhere, it's not possible anymore because we will be required, we were demanded to go back to the offices at least twice a week. So it's a hybrid model, right? If I want to move to another state, another country, and still be willing to work for the same company, it won't be possible anymore. In the beginning of the pandemic, it was possible because the company didn't require people to be in the same city. The company has its headquarters or offices, but nowadays it's required. Many people are going back to the lifestyle they used to have. But let's see. Here we have a funny picture. A funny picture from a person in the swimming pool. And maybe we have a drink here, right? It's not a soft drink, it's alcoholic. And the person is working from home or working from anywhere, right? So it's just a joke, right? It's impossible for someone to work like that. But anyway. Okay, so let's say. For most white-collar workers, it used to be very simple. Home was the place you left in order to go to work. The office was almost certainly the place you were heading to. Co-working spaces were for entrepreneurial people in t-shirts who wanted to hang out with other entrepreneurial people in t-shirts. You could stay at a hotel on a work trip, but it was not a place to get actual work done, which is why a hotel's business center defined all of business as using a printer. Yeah. Okay, so let's explore this paragraph. So, white-collar workers are people who work in offices, right, with air conditioning. It's more like an intellectual work, right? It's like a cognitive work base. So you don't have. It's not a heavy work. Physical job or anything like that. You work for offices, you're kind of a white-collar worker. Okay, so you have your home, you leave your home in order, and then you go to work, and then you go to office. It's like a routine, right? You go to your job, you clock in, and then you stay the whole day in there, and then you clock out. If you want my opinion, I would say that, I don't know, I don't think it's necessary. I believe the model of going to a place to stay a whole day in there is not feasible anymore. At least that's my point of view. Of course, if the company requires you to go, you have to, right? It's your obligation, you have no choice. But if you want my opinion, I think that the work we do at home, they have the same quality. or even higher, because you don't have interruptions, you don't have people talking, blah blah blah. They keep chatting, then they go to you and demand something to you. I believe working from home works perfectly because you can schedule meetings, you can go to meetings, you don't have to make a room reservation, a physical place, wait for everyone to gather in the room. It's different, right? So the pandemic made me think more seriously about how working from home is much better, right? Before the pandemic, I didn't think much about it. I was kind of getting used to going to the office, of course. If you ask me, oh, going to the office, yeah, it's great for interaction, right? As a team, you get to know people, you get to, it's more personal, right? It's not just watching people through webcam. So in order to get a more favorable workplace, get people to feel good about their work. You can make friends at work, you can have great interactions, physical interactions. Working from the office has its advantages, right? But I prefer working from home. And we have had co-working spaces for a long time, right? It's not something new, but it was somewhat restricted, right? When you had a conference or you have a large event, so business people of high caliber, right? With such high management people as CFOs, CEOs, you name it. They go to these places in order to build a wider network. So that was the purpose. But a work trip is not something that you will really get actual work done. It wasn't meant. It wasn't meant for that. And here we have something that is very true. In the past, I remember going to hotels which had business center available, and these centers, they offered printer, right, in which you can print something, a document or something, anywhere, anything you want, or have access to computer. You know what? Nowadays, people can access emails from their smartphones. It's not necessary to have a laptop anymore. In the past, it was much more difficult. You grabbed your huge laptop to the hotel in order to access the internet and see messages, to answer emails, or even make emails. Nowadays, it's much easier, right? The pandemic has thrown these neat categories into the air. Most obviously, home is also a place of work. According to a recent Gallup survey, 3/4 of American workers whose jobs can be performed remotely expect to spend time doing just that in the future. I expect that as well. And offices are increasingly where you go to put the company into company through collaborative work as well as through social activities. You know, it's like that. Let's explore. So the pandemic, it's a fact. It has changed how work dynamics take place. It's much different. These neat categories or this standard of work in which you, okay, I stay home, then I wake up and I get dressed and stuff, go to work, spend 8 hours in the office and then go back to home. This model has shifted drastically, right? It has changed. And I don't think it's something temporary. it's something that has come to stay. Of course, working from home doesn't apply to all situations. There are many business models in which it's impossible to work from home. Okay, I agree. Going to the doctor. Yeah, you can make appointments. You can have video medicine, right? Okay, I can talk to a doctor through the webcam. Yes, for a first contact. But if you have to make exams, if you have to be thoroughly examined by the doctor to see, for example, if I go to a dermatologist, or if I go to a neuro doctor, or anything that involves deep examination of your body, it's impossible to do it through a webcam. Maybe the first contact, right? If you are how can I say, it's the first contact you have with your doctor, and then you explain what you are feeling, and then the doctor tries to find out which specialty is most suitable to you, and then he directs you. Okay, so you have to see a doctor to take care of your stomach. So you must have many examinations which can't be made. It's impossible to have exams or x-rays from home. You have to go to a place, a physical place, in order, a lab, right? Maybe, okay, I have to take a blood test. Is it possible to take a blood test from home? Yes. Right? You make an appointment and the lab comes to you, visit you at home. You can take vaccines from home, but it's different, right? You know what I mean. For thorough examination, it's impossible to be from home. And the same applies. For example, it's impossible to eat, to go to a restaurant, to have an experience in a restaurant is something that can't be replicated from home. It's impossible. Of course, I can order food through iFood. Okay, I can have food from home, but it's not the same experience. Or maybe when you want to buy something, you have to go to a store, supermarket. So these business models, like supermarkets, like drugstores, it's impossible to have a full working from home model. Many people, people who work in my building, for example, right? Who give access to people to go to come here and deliver things, right? Or many kind of services, cleaning services. It's impossible to do it from home. You have to actually be in these places to have them cleaned. But as it says here, home has become a place of work, and I agree. It's possible, and for me, it's better to work from home. 3/4 of American workers, they expect to spend time doing just that in the future. They want to keep working from home. But I've seen many news articles from high IT companies in California and saying that, okay, it's time to go back to the office. So they won't offer a full home experience. So it's impossible to work from home. But I agree that going to the company, it's like putting the company into company experience. So you have collab, right? It's working, social activities. For these kind of things, I believe it's necessary to go to the office, right? But doing the work itself, I don't think where it's really necessary to go to the office. Let's see the next paragraph here. But the boldest version of remote working extends well beyond these two locations. Working from anywhere envisages a completely untethered existence in which people can do their jobs in Alaska or Zanzibar. Plenty of destinations are keen to blur the lines between business and leisure. Leisure, the world's ugliest chunk of word vomit. Oh my god, I didn't know they made up this word. Hotels are revamping some of their rooms as offices and rolling out work from hotel offers. Entire countries are reinventing themselves as places to mix play and work. Block? The Bahamas, Costa Rica, and Malta are among those that offer visas for digital nomads. Okay, so we have the, how can we say, the traditional version, but we have boldest models, right, in which when you say working from anywhere, it means that you can work literally from anywhere. Right? So it means I can work for a company here in Rio and live in the US, for example, in a place that I like the most. I believe the contrary is most likely. I've seen some examples through the internet, because the problem, we have a currency problem, right? The money you earn in here is reais. And if you live here and go to the US and live, it's not feasible. It's not something that you will get to be done unless you earn in dollars. Okay, if your salary is in dollars and is compatible to the US market, okay, right? Because can you imagine, for example, if you earn if you go to San Francisco, if you want to live in there, it's one of the places with the highest cost of living in the world. If you want to live in there and rent a one-bedroom apartment, you have to pay around $2,000 or more. $2,000 I'm being optimistic. It's more expensive than that. A 2-bedroom apartment in San Francisco, I've seen in a video, I've watched a video in YouTube talking about poverty in America, and it says if you want to rent a neat 2-bedroom apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment for your family, you have to spend around $3,800. It's a lot of money. If you convert this to reais, oh my god, nobody is going to pay that. If I move now with my salary in reais, I won't be able to rent an apartment in there. So that's not comparable. Here we earn in reais and there they earn in dollars. And when you go there to visit, you feel the difference. Everything is more expensive to you, of course. But what I'm mentioning here is that it's possible. It's possible. I don't know people. I've seen people saying, right, through the internet, that they moved to less expensive places from the cost of living view. Okay, I won't live in America anymore. I will go to Costa Rica. I will go to, I don't know, Costa Rica is US technically, right? I'm not so sure if it's Costa Rica. It's another place. There is one place that I thought it wasn't America, and I realized that it was. I'm not sure Costa Rica is America, right? It's US, I don't know. But Bahamas, Malta, right? Places, Hawaii. Okay, I will live in Hawaii. I will live in Buenos Aires. Right? You look for another place with a lower cost of living, and you work from there. You receive your salary in dollars or euros, and you have a great time because it's less expensive. It's possible for some people, right? Because you get the best for both worlds. You get business and you get leisure. It's like this bleisure, right? This terrible, ugly chunk of word vomit, okay? And many hotels, they revamped, right, their rooms, and they turned them into offices, working to make that place a better working environment place. And people working from home, they had to adapt their places as well. The next paragraph in here. But now, before we move forward, I want to know from you, I want you to think about it. Would you move to another place if you could? Let's suppose your working place, the company you work for, gives you the possibility of living in another place. Okay, you can live anywhere. It's not required for you to go to the office anymore, so you can move anywhere. Many people would move, right? I know some people in my company who moved to smaller cities, but now they have to go back, right? But it was a possibility. If, I don't know, I don't think I would move from Rio. It's so much work. Jesus, to move to another place, but I have to recognize maybe in the future. Let's suppose that was a possibility. I could move to a place which has less violence, less traffic, a place that I feel safer to live. If I could earn in dollars, I would live in the US, right? If I earned well in dollars, I would live there abroad and be working for a company in Brazil. It would be ideal, right? To me, it would be ideal. What about you? Do you have a family established in the city you live in? Would you like to live in another place? Would you move to another city if your company offered you a possibility of moving abroad or anywhere? If, for example, my family is from a small city in Minas Gerais, right? I wouldn't go back to living there. I wouldn't. But I must admit that the cost of living in there is much lower. Much, much, much lower. So with the money I have an apartment here, I could sell this apartment and buy a huge place in there, a better place. But I don't know, at least right now, maybe when I retire I will consider these possibilities. But what about you? Do you work from home? Do you work has COVID-19 changed your routine? Have you lost your job during pandemic, or maybe you changed your job, or the dynamics, the way you deal with work, hasn't it changed? I can tell from my experience that it has changed in many ways for the better and in other ways for the worse, right? Because working from home, don't be fooled. You work much more from home than going to the office. Yeah, you work much more. Because you jump from one meeting to another, right? You jump from one meeting to the other, and you still have many demands to answer, right? So the volume of things you have to do, of course, I'm not complaining here. I'm just giving you a real example. You have to do many more things at the same time. Because when you go to the office and you have a meeting, let's think a little. When you have a meeting, you have to be concentrated on the meeting you are in. If you have a meeting and you keep if you keep scrolling your cell phone, seeing something else, you're not you're physically in there, but you are not paying attention to the meeting. So that's what I'm saying. There are some meetings in which you have to take a full participation, and other meetings, yeah, okay, I can listen to what people are saying, and whenever they ask me something, I can interrupt what I'm doing and answer that demand. So you see, we are required to do many things at once. And that situation has aggravated, right? Yeah, it has gotten much worse with the pandemic. Let's continue with this paragraph here. The work from home, or the work from anywhere word edged a little closer on April 28th, when Brian Chesky, Airbnb boss, outlined new policies for employees of the property renting platform, as well as being able to move wherever they want to be in their country of employment without any cost of living adjustment. Airbnb staff can also spend up to 90 days each year living and working abroad. Wow, that's great. Mr. Chesky has been living out of Airbnb properties himself for the past few months and thinks this is the future. Okay, so here we have an example from Airbnb company in which it outlined policies for employees, and you can live, you can move wherever you want in your country of employment. What does it mean? If you work in the US, you can move wherever you want, and you don't have any cost of living adjustment. That's great. I don't know how it's possible if they give you more money for it, because we have different cost of living depending on where you live. Living in Rio de Janeiro is much more expensive than living in my city, my birthplace city. Much more expensive. I don't know. Here in the article, it isn't mentioned what they mean with this cost of living adjustment anyway. And the staff can also spend up to 90 days each year living and working abroad. Yeah, that's a huge benefit, right? And so the CEO, right? Brian Chesky is the CEO of Airbnb, and he believes this is the future. Oh, yeah, it's the future for everywhere in the world. Yeah, right. The idea of a globe-trotting existence sounds wonderful. Nevertheless, plenty of barriers remain. Some are practical. The legal, payroll, and tax ramifications of working from different locations in the course of a year are an administrative headache. Yeah. Companies, I wasn't aware of that, because if you work in another place, if I work from the US and the company is in here in Brazil, the company has to pay taxes to the US. And the payroll system, the legal system is different, right? It's entirely different in the US from Brazil, for example. So it's a huge headache. Mr. Chesky admits as much and says that he will open source Airbnb's solution to this problem. Mundane issues like IT support become more complicated when you are abroad. Working from anywhere is only feasible if your equipment functions reliably. Yeah, that's something that we have in here. I work from home and I have my equipment. If my equipment, for any reason, my laptop stops working or has a huge problem, what can I do? I have to change computers, or I have to take it for maintenance. It's a problem. To get remote support, you must have technology to allow remote support, to access the company systems via VPN. Nowadays, the technology has improved a lot and the situation is much, much better, but it requires a lot of investment. If the Wi-Fi at your Airbnb reminds you of what life was like with modems, your options may be limited. Yeah, that's this problem about it too. My company, for example, doesn't pay for monthly expenses, internet monthly expenses. I have to use my internet, my modem, my system, everything in order to have my internet. If the internet stops functioning, how can I work? Okay, I can router using my cell phone. Okay, I can use, but everything, the expenses are yours, right? The light, the electricity, everything. When you work for the office, all the expenses and the support, the technology, they are provided by the company. So you see that there is a gap in there, right? The company spends less and you spend more. On the other hand, you have more, it's more comfortable for you. You can have your meals at home. You no longer have to go to the office to take a means of transportation, right? Some people, they live far from where they work. So it must take them, I don't know, some people, it takes them 2 hours to get to the office, depending on where they live, depending on traffic. So you eliminate all these problems. So it has advantages, it has pros and cons, and you have to put them, to weight them properly. Look here. If you spill suntan lotion on your laptop, the people on the hotel's reception desk are more likely to offer you sympathy than a replacement computer. Oh my God, how can you? Of course, if you go suntan somewhere in the hotel, you are putting suntan lotion in your body, and by accident you spill suntan lotion on your laptop. It's a physical problem, right? The laptop stops working. Can anyone at the hotel help you? No. No one can help you. No one can give you a replacement. It's the company's responsibility. But the company is in the other side of the world. I have to cross the ocean to get physical support. You know what I mean? Another set of obstacles is more personal. The carefree promise of working from anywhere is far easier to realize if you don't have actual cares. Yeah. For me, it's much easier because I don't have children. I don't live with my family. But people who have families, Oh my God, what a headache. Children of a certain age need to go to school. Partners may not be able to work remotely and have careers of their own to manage. You see, for example, you have a couple, one of them works from home, another one doesn't work from home. Or even if both of them manage to work from home, the children are at home. How can you concentrate? How can you work? How can you give attention to your family and work at the same time? You know, it's a huge problem, right? Okay, I will read one more paragraph before we end this article, but we have read almost everything in this article, right? The option to work from anywhere will be the most attractive to people who have well-paid jobs and fewer obligations. Okay, if you have fewer obligations or fewer things to manage from home, it would be much better. Childless tech workers. For example, tech workers who don't have children, right? If the company decides, okay, you have to work in another city, you have to move to this city. Would it be a problem for me in practical terms? No. Would I like to move? No, I wouldn't like to move. Unless it's the US. If it's, okay, Thales, you are living in San Francisco. Okay, but I have to be paid properly to keep my standard of living I have in here to have in there, right? Of course, that won't happen. But for many people, many other people, the anywhere in working from anywhere will still boil down to a simple choice between their home and their office. That might be a recipe for resentment within teams. Imagine dialing into a Zoom call covered in baby drool. Oh my God. Baby drool, and hearing Greg from Product Wax lyrical about how amazing Chamonix is at this time of the year. Yeah, it's very complex, right? Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Let's have a nice and warm conversation about the the dynamics of work that has changed a lot during the years, working from home or working at the office. We are living this dilemma right now, and some people they can choose, right? They are privileged to choose whether to work in one model or another, and other people they can't choose anything. So you have a full office model, right, in which you have to go there every single day, clock in and clock out. You have a model that is hybrid. Many companies are adopting that, and companies that no longer have an HQ. They don't have headquarters anymore. They just stopped. They don't have offices anymore. If they were renting offices, okay, no, it's not necessary to have a physical place, and everyone can work at different locations. Some companies, they can afford to do that. Others, they can't. And we have many expenses, many different things regarding IT. We have things regarding personal affairs. You have errands to do. You have children or not. IT support. What happens if the connection stops working? You see, everything influences how work will take place. And this model is being shaped over the years, and I believe it's going to change in the next years. For the better? I don't know. Seriously, I don't know. Okay, until next time, give a huge thumbs up. See you next video.